Hi everyone, happy Thursday and welcome to this edition of the Coffee Chinwag Show with myself, Jennifer Corcoran. Every day this week, Monday to Friday, I've been speaking to inspiring female entrepreneurs, and today I'm going to be speaking to the wonderful Dana Owens, who is an expert at writing case studies, which are so important for your business. So between 3 and 3:30 today, we're going to be chatting all things case studies. And again, I'm going to do another one tomorrow to wrap up the week with Megan Winkler, and we're going to be talking about heart-centered marketing. So if you can see me live today, let me know. I never know if anybody's here or not. You're kind of talking into the ether. If you're watching it live, it'd be great if you could just let me know where you're joining us from in the world. And likewise, if you're watching the replay, just stick in hashtag replay, because I'm always curious to see who watches these either live or after. So before I bring up the fab Dana, I'm going to give you just a brief rundown on who she is, and then I will introduce myself because I've done it again. I've forgotten to introduce myself again. But Dana, firstly, she is a copywriter who specializes in writing compelling case studies that help service-based business owners like myself and course creators to stand out in their market, attract their ideal clients, and to close more sales. And who wouldn't want more of that? And I've had the privilege of working with Dana directly. She's helping me with 3 case studies. And if you look at my LinkedIn profile, in the featured section underneath my about summary, you will see that I'm featuring a one-pager from Dana, which has just been super useful for me. And I'm sure you've all heard the kind of the sentence, facts tell but stories sell, and they really do, I believe, when it comes to LinkedIn. So before I bring Dana up, I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Jennifer Corcoran. I'm a LinkedIn trainer and strategist. I'm the founder of My Super Connector, and I help introverted entrepreneurs to attract their ideal clients on LinkedIn in an authentic way. So I'm all about organic reach and the magic of DMs and teaching people how to engage in a genuine way that doesn't involve spammy, awkward, cold outreach. So that's me. So if anybody's live, let us know. And I'm going to bring the wonderful Dana onto the stage now. So hi, Dana. Thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's great, especially because I've had the privilege of working with you. It's always great to interview somebody when I've had the experience of working with them firsthand and seeing what they do.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you again for the amazing case studies you've written for me and my clients, because sometimes it's hard to kind of write these things ourselves. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're
I
welcome. They were
I'll
fun to do.
I'll let you go into your process in a while, but I just want to ask you the first question. Why do you think case studies are such powerful marketing tools?
Well, first of all, before I tell you that, let's talk a little bit about, I feel like more and more times I talk to people and they have this old-timey version of or picture of what a case study is. And
Yeah,
case studies in the past, and some people are still doing this, are extremely technically driven, dry and super boring marketing tools. And so a lot of people have just written them off because marketing in many different ways has become something that you can have fun with and connect with people over. And so case studies, a lot of people have just abandoned them. But you can definitely take a very fresh approach with your case studies. And the ones that I do are specifically story driven. So
yeah,
when you have case studies like that, they are amazing marketing tools. So for this talk, let's forget about those completely dead and boring case studies. And we're only going to focus on the really fresh story driven ones. Okay.
yeah,
So when you have fresh story driven case studies, they are amazingly powerful because what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to connect with your prospects at an emotional level. Stories stick, flat out. Even if somebody is not in your target market and they read a case study that you have on your website or on social media or anywhere in your marketing channels, and it is driven by a story, people are literally drawn to read it, like I said, whether they're in your target market or not. And that story will stick in their brain. So maybe they aren't the right client for you, but that story's in their mind. And so when they come across somebody who is needing a service like yours, they have something fresh to pull out and say, hey, I just read a story about that from Jennifer Corcoran, and she's the perfect person if you need LinkedIn training and strategy. So they're very powerful for that regard. Also, they allow you to tell the full story of your product, service, or course. So there really isn't another marketing tool that you have that allows you that kind of time and space to do that. You can't do it on your website because you need to be as concise as possible. You certainly can't do it in a testimonial, and I'll tell you more about that later. And you really can't do it in a social media post. So you need one designated asset that allows you to tell the full story of how you've helped someone, the full story of how your client's pain points were addressed. And also it allows you the chance to tell the full value of the transformation that you provide. So like I said, there's really not another avenue that you have to do that except for in a case study. And then the last thing is case studies are so powerful because ultimately what you want somebody to do is you want them to see themselves in your solution, and case studies allow you to do that. So any prospect, no matter what you're selling, that prospect is most likely inundated with solutions for their problem because there's a lot of competition for pretty much anything these days. So first of all, not a lot of service providers and course creators even have case studies. So you already have an opportunity to differentiate yourself just by having them.
Yeah.
But when you have them, you're giving your prospect an opportunity to overcome their hesitations and see themselves in your solution, which makes it dramatically more likely that they're going to say yes and buy from you if you have a tool like that. So that's really the key points of what makes them so valuable and powerful as marketing tools.
I think that's amazing. And you're just reminding me when I was promoting this talk yesterday, I just shared a graphic, and one of the comments below was from a lady called Agnes, who belongs to the same network as us. And she said, you know, she never thought to use case studies in her business. She used to use them in corporate. And I
Yep.
think, like you said, a lot of people probably think they're all kind of facts and figures and stats and a bit dry, but you can really sell a story and a transformation as a business owner. And I think the fact that not many people are using them is to your advantage because they're definitely going to stand out. And
Yeah.
especially on LinkedIn, PDFs, any kind of one pager or 3 pages or 5 pages, most human beings, well, we're pretty curious anyway. So we like to scroll. So if there's anything visual, people will look through. And as Dana said, you know, that story will stick in your head. And I think as human beings, we all love stories. You know, I'm a TV addict, but what is TV? Well, it's a collection of stories. All my programs and movies, and then you've got books and magazines and everything. They're all stories. And that is what kind of sticks in your head. So I love the way you framed that. So thank you for enlightening us about kind of how you can make your case stories a bit more up to date and exciting and fully showcase the transformation. I just
Yeah.
want to briefly say hi to Adela because I can see somebody's joined us. So it's always great to know that the comments are working and somebody's with us. So hi, Adela. Thanks for joining us today. If you've got any questions at all for Dana about case studies, don't be shy, or any feedback, anything like that, stick it in the comments. So I just want to ask really, how do you, because you've mentioned testimonials and basically said there's no other marketing tool as effective as case studies. So what's the big kind of differentiator between a testimonial, say like a LinkedIn recommendation, which is not super long, or one of your case studies? What would be the big difference?
Well, the big difference is, I kind of touched on it before, but it's your ability to tell the full story of the transformation of your work. So in no means am I saying that case or that testimonials aren't valuable. They are, and you should seek them out. You
Yes.
should ask for them, include them far and wide, like in whatever way you can. But you have to realize that there are limitations for really removing people's hesitations. It is awesome to have that social proof, especially if your testimonials have a picture and speak directly to the results that you've helped somebody achieve. But like I said, they cannot do in one paragraph what
Yeah.
you can do with a full story case study, because there's no way in a testimonial that you can really touch on the pain points that your client was experiencing that brought them to your solution to help them. And there's no way that you can tell the full story of what process you led them on to get them the transformation that they wanted. And also, there's not even a lot of times testimonials focus exclusively on the results, but there's still not even enough space to talk about the full breadth of the transformation that you provided. A lot of times people will have testimonials that speak, like if you're a business coach, it'll speak directly and only to the revenue that was the increased revenue that somebody achieved through your service. But it doesn't spend time talking about all of the other wonderful things that happened that that could connect with people. Like there are tangible results that you can talk about in case studies, and those are always amazing. That's like revenue growth or clients gained or very data-driven stats that you can include. But there are also so many intangible results that are just as juicy for people and could be what flips them from being a maybe I'll try your service to an, oh my gosh, I definitely have to do that. And those intangible things are like increased confidence or mindset shifts or all of those internal things that happen when you go through someone's process and you start to get the tangible gains that you want, but there's always so many other things that come along with it. And when a testimonial, there just is not the time or the space to do that because most people are including testimonials on their homepage, for example. And your homepage, if it's well done, needs to be very crisp and short. So you don't have time to go on for like 4 or 5 paragraphs with these huge testimonials. And if you do, the chances are people aren't really reading them because, again, they're not formed as a story. The only way that someone is going to read in depth about anything is if it is story-based, and you're just not able to do that with a testimonial.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that the fact that the case studies showcase the journey because it's not always just about the end result. Like, there are lots of copywriters out there are lots of LinkedIn trainers out there, and we'll probably promise pretty similar results, but you're not necessarily going to gel with everybody, and somebody's process may suit your personality and your goals rather than another person's. For example, I know myself as a LinkedIn trainer, I do a lot of one-to-one training or small groups, whereas other trainers will do huge groups. And like not everybody will want that. So I think knowing that the journey is going to suit you and be fun as well and pleasurable is important, and that confidence and, like you said, that mindset, because you want to feel confident after working with somebody, and especially with the case studies, you want to be confident to showcase them because that's how you're going to attract new people. And if they worked with you, for example, which wouldn't, this is not going to be the case, but if they worked with you and they didn't like your process and they didn't gel with you, they're probably not going to shout about you. So it's the whole thing really, isn't it? So I love that you've spotlighted that. And so many people are just keen to get to the end result and not really factor in the journey, but the journey is most of the time spent.
Yeah, and you need to take into consideration that people have hesitations to saying yes to becoming a client from a whole bunch of different things. Yes, of course, people want to know like what types of results do you provide for me, but you have to think that a lot of prospects, especially I mentioned before that there's so much competition out there, and the fact is that a lot of people have tried a lot of different solutions and they haven't all worked. And so there are a lot of people out on the internet who are looking for solutions to their problems that they may have tried 1 or 2 or 3 things before and it didn't work, but they still have the problem. So they're still looking for a solution. And a case study, especially if you really talk about what differentiates you as far as your process goes or your personality or your approach, or maybe the way that you deliver things, that is definitely an overlooked area where people do have hesitations and they want to know, okay, I tried this one solution and it didn't work. And basically, most likely there wasn't a case study to help that person see that they weren't a fit with someone. But if you have that up front for somebody to get a good look into how you handle your service or your course, how you deliver things, that in itself could be a huge hesitation remover and get people to move from maybe to yes for you. So just, you have to look at the whole journey and figure out how you can remove those hesitations from the beginning to the middle to the end for someone, and not just focus on these are the results that my product, service, or course provides. So that's another
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's great. I think it's amazing the way it will just help any of those objections, whether it is time or money. Because even do my 8-week program, I've had to spell it out to quite a few people when I launched it first, exactly how long we're going to meet every week. But now I've got the case studies for you, kind of showcasing people that have gone through it. So it makes my job kind of promoting it much easier. And they've got people that they can look up and go, oh, okay, they've done it. They can look at their profile, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is, maybe fear of large groups, or thinking they're going to be super exposed in the group, or thinking it's going to take a lot more time than it's going, than it should, or that it's going to be like hard work or serious or formal. And I'm quite an informal person, and I try to make things fun with my clients. So, I think it is important to kind of read a story of somebody who's been through the similar journey, and then they can relate to it. So I can see a few more comments coming in. One quick question for Adela. She's just saying, yes, would you say writing up a case study would also make a great blog post for content?
Yes, 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 and yes. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. I hope I could talk about it now, but the one big sticking point also with people with case studies is they don't really know how to implement them
Yeah.
well. And so it is amazing if you're looking for ways to get a really good bang for your buck, a case study is it. Because like I said, a full story case study tells the full story, and that can be a little bit longer. I mean, the case studies that I write tend to be about 4 to 5 pages, and that's designed with images, so it's not like 4 to 5 pages of complete text. But there is so much juicy info that is in there, and you can repurpose that in a gazillion different ways. So case studies, yes, are awesome as PDFs, but you can easily turn that. I mean, almost verbatim, you could use the exact case study on your blog.
Yeah.
And that's obviously great for SEO purposes, but just gives you another avenue to use and push out all of that great story that you just created.
Definitely. And I think you could, Adela, you can dissect it up as well. You can take paragraphs or quotes and make separate stories out of them. So you could like really repurpose that case study. You might even get 10, 20 posts from it, and and cover like different things that, the journey was maybe confidence. You could chat about confidence one day, then another day you could talk about mindset or the end result. So you could make visual graphics, quotes, short written posts, and then you could always link back to the blog or link back to the case study. So I'm all about like working smarter, not harder. And I think if you've got a great piece of content like that, just share it again and again and again, and don't be afraid to repurpose, because not everybody is going to see all of your content at the same time, especially on LinkedIn. Only about 10 to 15% of your network will see your posts. So if you're a business owner, if you've got a separate company page, share on your page as well, and choose different times and days. And as long as that message is the same message and you're repeating it, it just helps with the know, like, and trust. So don't be afraid to repurpose the heck out of things, because why make it harder for yourself? And if you've gone and you've got someone like Dana to make that case study for you, just use it, like really work that case study. So Karen's saying, love that idea, hadn't thought of that before. And then Adela's saying she's all for repurposing content. Yeah, repurposing all the way. And I just want to say hi to whoever this is as well. This week I've had a few techie glitches. I think it's a LinkedIn glitch, and the person hasn't shown up. They've just come up anonymous as LinkedIn user, but then when I've jumped off the live, I can see them. So I'm sorry, whoever you are. Thank you for joining us. If you want to put your name in the comment, that'd be great. I appreciate you joining. But yeah, sorry, I think LinkedIn and StreamYard's a little bit glitchy this week. So just on the topic of that, Dana, can you think of other ways that we can implement case studies in our marketing as well as blogs? Any other tips?
Yes, loads. But I'll actually share 4 more. I was going to share 5, but one of them is to repurpose them on social media and in your blogs. But the easiest one to do, and I don't see a lot of people doing this, is when you have these case studies, and first of all, like good full story case studies are going to be designed and branded for your business. So they look like amazing marketing assets. They take your marketing game up like so many notches. So you really want as many people as possible to see them. So one of the best things to do is to include a link in your email signature so that no matter who you're emailing, they are always seeing in your signature a link to, and you can have a link that says a number of different things, but something along the lines of, do you want to see the results that I get from my clients? Click here. And then they click on that link. And let's say that you have one case study that really speaks the most to what, your typical client. It would go to that really killer case study that somebody always then has access to. And I like to have, like, let's say you have a number of case studies created and you have a case studies tab on your website that has them of this beautiful collection of case studies. That would be like the ideal scenario. But you can link to a page on your website if you have the case studies displayed, or even if you don't, even if you've only had one case study made and it just looks great and it tells a great story, you can literally just have that in the media library on your website and link directly to that PDF. That's completely fine. And that can be in your email signature. So like I said before, you're sending emails to all kinds of different people, and some of them are in your target market and some of them aren't. But it doesn't mean that anybody isn't going to click on that link and then get sucked into the story and have you in their mind should they come across somebody who needs you. So it's just great to always have that, that link there for anybody who has the time and the willingness to read it. It's right there for them to do. So that's number one, an easy thing to do. The second one is obviously to showcase them on your website. And a lot of times people are like, well, how do I actually do that? Where do I put that? They think that they need to have a case studies tab on their website. And maybe they only have one and they're like, well, I don't have enough to do that with. It's okay. Put them on your homepage. You can create like a case study feature section on your website, and maybe you have one or two right there. You can include them on your about page. A lot of people don't think to do this, but it's such a great way to weave in more about you by including, this is how I help my clients. It can easily fit on an about page. Let's say you've created a case study about a particular one of your services. Have a service, you probably have a service page or a product page or a sales page for that exact solution. Incorporate the case study into the service page. And then you have awesome in-depth proof about how this has worked for people. It can really help your product page or sales page a lot. And then, like I said, it's the ideal, perfect place to have it is if you do have a case studies section on your website. Sometimes people don't even need to go to the case studies page. Just seeing the word case studies in your navigation menu is enough to like subconsciously tell people, oh my gosh, this person must really get results if they have case studies created. So there's that. We already talked about how to incorporate them on social media. I'll just say one thing to piggyback on what you said is you can pull out quotes from your case study. And if you have a story-driven case study, where you've actually spoken to your client, you're gonna have tons of good quotes from them. So you can use your LinkedIn to pull out, let's say once a week, you pull out a perfect quote from the case study. That is the basic gem of your post copy. And then you're always driving to the longer version of the case study so people can read the full story. You can do that on Facebook, LinkedIn, you can do that any social media channel that you have. I love to tell people to incorporate your case studies, send them with your proposals. So if you're a service provider who does customized proposals, include them right in the proposal. Yeah. It's such a great way. Obviously, you're going to want to have with your proposal maybe some testimonials to support how you've helped people who have purchased a similar service to what you're sending a proposal for. But it's even better to send a link to a case study or two that gives someone the full story to read of how you've helped someone just like them. So send with the proposals. And the last one that I feel is really effective is when you've had a sales call or a discovery call or even just a connection call with somebody and you want to keep that line of communication open, the best way to follow up with them is to say, hey, thank you so much for for meeting with me today. And we talked about my services, or thank you so much for meeting with me today and just connecting and learning more about my business. I wanted to share this case study with you that I think will speak directly to some of the needs that I heard that you had. It's just such a great way to keep that conversation going. And it doesn't make you the person who needs to do all the talking. You've
Yeah.
done the talking on the connection call or on the sales call, but now you can let your case study talk for you in the follow-up. And that's so powerful because what people really want is they don't necessarily want to hear you talk about your business, although that's very helpful. They really want to hear your clients talk about your business because that third party validation is so, so key for, again, removing people's hesitations and helping them see that, hey, if it worked for so and so, this could easily work for me. So when you send them in those follow-up emails, you're allowing your clients to speak for you, which is so powerful. So those are my top ways for implementation.
So much, so many ways there. And I was thinking, yeah, I definitely need to do something in my email signature. Like you said, even if you're mailing someone and they're not necessarily your ideal client, that story will stick in their head. So I think that is super clever. And I do have some case studies on my website, but you have created three beautiful ones for me. So I'm thinking I have to stick them up somewhere. And I think that's amazing as well with sending after a connection call, because it doesn't feel massively salesy to me, because you're basically sharing a story as opposed to, here's my services X, 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 because I think, like you said, the case study will do the work for you, and then they should come back and say, how can I book in, or what price is that, so it
Yeah.
doesn't feel as salesy. It just feels a lot more informal, and I love the idea of attaching a case study with a proposal, because sometimes, especially I do a mix of B2B and B2C. So I do a lot of corporate workshops, but sometimes I think corporates do need that extra kind of validation and proof point of somebody you've worked with. So I think if you can showcase the transformation and the whole journey, that just makes their buying decision so much easier. So yeah, I love all of those ideas. I think they're
Let me just say one more thing about that. This is especially helpful in proposals and in as follow-up emails after sales calls. If you have a high ticket offer, if you have a high ticket offer and on the sales call or in the proposal, you have the price listed there, the investment required. And if you have a higher ticket offer that people tend to have some hesitation around, like, oh, let me just think about it. That case study is money as far as helping you justify your price, because you're not just saying, oh, here's my price, and basically asking people to just take a chance. It'll work. Here's a couple testimonials that I have that show you happy clients. It will really allow you the space to show people the full value of your work. So if you have a higher ticket price, case studies are crucial because they help people understand how their investment is going to pay off, which is, as we all know, like, that is so important. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because that is, I mean, so many people these days do have high ticket offers, and
yeah.
they are the ones in particular that really should be including case studies in their follow-ups.
Definitely. And I think, yeah, if you're a coach or a consultant, or you're doing any kind of ongoing, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, that is a commitment. So you can't, unless you've got amazing testimonials, it's not really, if anybody's got hesitations about committing for that duration of time or the money, I do think you definitely need something longer to get your teeth into and kind of go, okay, it's going to be worth it for me. It's going to work out. So yeah, I think that's super important to highlight, and it's something I've been guilty of in the past. And I'm just curious, I know you do a range of case studies, so they don't always have to be 4 or 5 pages. You've done a few pages for me. So ideally, like, how long after somebody has worked with someone should they get a case study? Can they get one pretty quick, or should it be a few months down the line or a year down the line? What would
Okay,
you
you can kind of sense, like, let's say that you have a program and it's wrapped up, and because you've gathered feedback or you've heard the feedback that there have been some great results happening. You can jump on those right away. And the quicker that you can get to creating case studies after something, a client engagement or a program or course has ended, the better, because all of that feedback is so fresh in their minds. But so I would say the sooner the better, but also you want to continually follow up with people, because a great thing about case studies is they never expire and you can continue to update them. So let's say somebody's had a fantastic result right throughout the program, and then as the program is ended, that doesn't mean that that's all that they're going to get. They can continue to have a benefit from your program for months and months, if not years down the line. And it just is great that you can continue, if you continue to follow up with them, you can continue to update your case study with new data and new stats and new quotes to make it more and more compelling as you go. So a case study, you can definitely create it right away, but it actually gets better and better as long as you keep in touch with people and see, again, the full range of what that transformation has been for someone.
Amazing, because I think a lot of people probably think, oh, I have to wait till I've got tangible results. So I think that's great. It sounds like a case study. It's a bit like your LinkedIn profile. It's like or your website. It's like a living document
Yeah.
that's constantly going on and on and on. So I think that's great. And I'm living proof of that, because I literally reached out to you right after my program had ended. So a lot of the people, there was good feedback, good comments, but they haven't put everything into action yet. So you
Yeah.
can get a shorter case study, and then you can elaborate down the line once they've got kind of greater, deeper results. So I think that's amazing. So we are actually just at the 30 minutes now, just a little bit over, and I am conscious of your time. So, Dana, if anybody wants to get your help to help them with a case study, what is the best way to reach out to you?
So the best way is through LinkedIn. I think hopefully you can share my LinkedIn link, but
Yeah,
my website is also a great place. That's nextlevelcopy.com, and my email is on there. And my website has all kinds of information and samples about the work that I do and some of the work that I've done. So my website or my LinkedIn are the two best places.
brilliant. And do take a look at Dana's profile. And if you take a look at her content as well, you'll see she shares a lot of case studies, rightly so. So you'll be able to have a sneak peek at some of the ones that she's already done for clients. So you give you kind of an insider's kind of guide as to the kind of things she could create for you. So as I said, I've worked with her. I think she's amazing. Basically, she has a Zoom call with your clients, an informal chat, gets the information from them, goes away, and then collates the case study. You don't have to do any work. She goes off, she brands it, and it comes back to you ready to go. So I can't sing her praises highly enough. So if you need help, don't be shy, reach out, because this is an investment for your business. This is not a cost. This is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure as far as Jen is concerned. So
Yeah.
do reach out, and if you have any last minute, comments or anything, don't be shy to reach out to either of us individually as well. The conversation doesn't have to end when the live ends. So don't be shy, reach out, connect with us. And thanks so much for tuning in today. And thanks a million for coming along, Dana.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun. Thank you.
You. And for those of you listening, I'm going to do one last one tomorrow. It's going to be with a lady called Megan Winkler, and it's going to be all about heart-centered marketing. So see you there at 3 o'clock. So thanks everyone. Thanks Dana, and wish you a great end of day. Take
Thank
care.
you.